Cindy, I made it.
He made it, people. Whoop, whoop. Boom. So I do say a lot of boom in my show. So just, fasten your seatbelts, because y'all know I'm the 200 miles per hour entrepreneur. So we're going to have a great story here, guys. So we're going to have this conversation with Curtis for a few bit. And then later on, like probably half an hour into the show, I'm going to open the seat. I mean, people, if you want to come in and have a seat and have a conversation with us, that's awesome. Right? We're not shy. I promise I will not chew you up, nor will I, smack you or whatever. But we're going to be happy if you're going to come on camera and have a conversation with us. So welcome to ZZTV Interviews, Curtis.
Well, it's a pleasure to be. Thank you so much.
Guys, you know what? This is interesting for some of you who are here in Connecticut. So we have Connecticut, we have Alabama, we have Newfoundland, Canada, New Hampshire. Welcome, people. Boom. So for some of you, you don't know this, but when I connected with Curtis, you were actually an introduction, right, Curtis? You were an introduction from a Facebook connection. And lo and behold, we just realized this like probably, say 15 minutes ago when I did a system test with him in another room. We realized that he started out in Connecticut. He lived in a town that I used to work. And guess what? He probably was the account manager for the company, one of the vendors that the company that I worked for. And I said, that's basically, I was like, it was like deja vu, because I remember meeting a Curtis and from this company, Cintas. And I was like, don't tell me this is the Curtis. And now you live in Florida, right?
I do.
Oh my God, right? It's such a small world, people. You never know, right? This is why we always talk about when you build relationships, you never know. Sometimes people that pass shoulders with you will come back to your circle of connections. This is like spooky, amazing, right, Cindy? Yeah, absolutely. This is the story. So welcome. So maybe we can start off, Curtis, with you a little bit, giving a little bit of your introduction. I think a great start would be like, who is Curtis Luzzi?
Well, I grew up in upstate New York, up near Saratoga Springs, and I was recruited to play baseball in college. So that's what landed me in Connecticut. And so I went down to Connecticut, and actually my junior year of college, I get a call from my dad, and my dad says that we had too many loans outstanding in the family, and I didn't know what I was going to do to be able to stay in school. It was very expensive. I was a Division I baseball player. I was a full-time student. I worked all the basketball games, hockey games, football games to make a little extra money. Of course, I was an RA on campus as well to help pay for the housing. So I was very busy. And it just so happened I was sharing some of my challenges with a few of my friends, and there was three siblings. There was four of us, four of us within 4.5 years, actually, all under 5 years. It was all four of us were born. And so I had two siblings in college and another one that was a senior in high school. So that's the reason why we weren't able to get another loan, a personal loan. So I was sharing some of my challenges with a few of my friends. One of my friends says, my dad's an attorney here in Connecticut. He's looking for some people that want to make some extra money. And that my ears perked right up, and I got started in a network marketing business, actually. So it was a network marketing business in 2003. So I was a junior in college, and I paid for my tuition my last 3 semesters of college. And it was from that kind of like stretched my mind. That's when I went to a personal development training in Southbury, Connecticut, and our good friend Tommy Wyatt was running it. Wow. And he said, you got to read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that really is what started the whole kind of entrepreneurial journey, if you will, is because, Robert Kiyosaki in the book said he worked for Xerox, because his rich dad said work for Xerox not for the money, but for the training. And so I went to work at Cintas, the company you're talking about, not for the money, but for the training. And right out of college, I went into Cintas and I got started in corporate America. And but I had a life-changing situation happen a week after I graduated college. So I was in, 1 week after I graduated college, I was still playing baseball. And we were in Lakewood, New Jersey. We're about ready to play our big rivals, Quinnipiac, and the college baseball championships. Mm-hmm. And my dad and my sister Dina comes walking into the hotel room the night before our first championship game and mentioned that my brother Silas was killed. And my brother Silas was killed on a dirt bike He was going down a dirt roadway. He was completely healthy. He hit a rock in the middle of the roadway, and it forced him off the trail. He hit a tree, and he was on impact. It severed his aorta, and he passed away on the spot. But there was something that happened at his funeral that I'll never forget. My dad mentioned that Silas lived more life in his 23 years than most people do in a normal lifetime. And when that happened, it kind of changed my mindset going into corporate America just a little bit. And I realized that there's now and there's later, but later's. And so the only time that really matters is now. And I had that kind of planted in my head at a fairly young age. And it just fast forward a couple of years later, I found myself, you know, in a business where it was all about appreciation and gratitude. I knew I wanted to do something that was really meaningful. And right out of college, I just focused all my energy. You know, Jim Rohn, who was Tony Robbins' mentor, Jim Rohn says, what you lack in skill up in numbers. And so what I lacked in skill, I didn't have to know everything because I was just willing to put in the effort. And there's a couple things that I realized along the journey and all the trainings that I've done around the country and around the world is that there's a couple things that we can control. And one is our attitude, how we're going to show up, how we're choosing to show up. We can control that. The number two is that we can control our effort, the action that we're putting in. So if you take your attitude, you add it to your action, and then I believe you multiply that by your compelling purpose, and you have like a winner's formula right there. So you show up with the right attitude, you put in the right effort, you attach that to your compelling purpose, and you can go anywhere you want to go.
I'm having I really am, because is it, am I echoing, guys, or is
a little
it
bit?
a little bit? Okay, I might have to refresh and come back in. So did it go away?
Yeah, you're good.
Yay, awesome. Thanks, Cindy. So yeah, it sends chills towards my spine because you're saying, you know, you can control how you show up. You can control your attitude. These are the two most important things, but for so it's what everybody lacks because, you know, they're so busy. They're on the go. They're looking at that tunnel at the end of the tunnel, and then they really in the now, right, in the moment, and they're just rushing, and they forget all these little pieces that make living in the moment precious. And I think your story with your brother is so touching because that was, I think, the epiphany of the story and just a wake-up call. That was your story of your life, and it was just a wake-up call. Many people get wake-up calls in many different aspects or different shapes and forms and sizes, right? For me, it was one of it. I'm not sure if you knew this, Curtis, but 2014, I went through cancer. So for me, that was like, you know, that was the moment for me. So thank you for sharing that story. And I think some of our audience right now, you know, if you have any questions, so what it is in Crowdcast people, you can send your questions in the box to the left, I think, of your chat, and you see a button that says ask questions or suggest a topic. If you can send your questions right there, and what we'll do is answer them as we go. So just in case if you have to step out to the bathroom or whatever while we're answering it, you can come back and watch the replay at that specific timeline. That's why I love Crowdcast, that specific timeline, and just listen in to that answer at that moment. So back to our conversation. So with all of that, that's who Curtis is. So we are talking about, you know, time is now. That's the only time that matters. What got you inspired on this journey of the now movement, other than the story with your brother? But what was the, I think the point, the point that really pushed you to, okay, I'm gonna do this regardless of what the situation is, what people are saying. This is what I want to do. What is the actual moment that really inspired you to do that?
Well, you know, there's a few things because, you know, I'm going to share a story to kind of help take you through the path a little bit more. Is that I had somebody really kind of pull it out of me one day. They're like, Curtis, there's got to be more. Like, what is it? Is there a time? There was a moment that you feel like maybe at a young age? Is it just inside of you? the giving part. And you know what? Something popped into my head, and I just got the chills, and my eyes actually started watering when I thought about it. Is that when I was 9 years old, I remember seeing a flyer on the wall in school, and it was about a family that lost their house. They lost everything. And so on the flyer, they were asking for food, money, and clothing. Well, at 9 years old, I had clothing, and I didn't have food. I had clothing. I didn't have food, and I didn't have like money. Well, the food was in the pantry, and the food was in the refrigerator. So my dad always made sure that he was a great provider for all four of us when we were young. But I remember going home, and I know that flyer was meant for the teachers, but I remember going home and grabbing a bag and taking some shirts and putting them in a bag and bringing it to school. And I remember I had this long, like blue with a little bit of purple on it, I think. It was like a long blue shirt, and I put it in the bin, and I never told anybody. I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell anybody at school. And 2 days later, one of my classmates was wearing that shirt. Well, the one that their house burned down.
Wow.
And I remember having this feeling that it was really hard to explain. Well, I think you know exactly what it was. But back then I was like, I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want him feeling embarrassed that he was wearing one of my shirts. But it made me feel so incredibly good. And I'm a huge believer in the law of reciprocity and what you give out, what you come back, the law of attraction. So 3 years later, I realized now that it was my turn to receive. And I was playing basketball against my gym teacher. And my gym teacher, I beat him in a game of horse. And he says, Curtis, would you like to go to a basketball camp? And I was, of course I would. So he gave me a flyer, and he says, you can take this home with you. And so I took it on the bus, and I opened it up, and it didn't even cross my mind that it cost money to go to it. At 12 years old, it didn't run through my mind.
Yeah.
It was $375. It was up in Brant, up in the Adirondack Mountains in upstate New York. And it was with Tony Kubek, who played basketball at Duke University. And a lot of kids come out of New York City, and I wanted to go so bad. But my parents were fighting over $20 at the time. They were going through a divorce. And when I was 12, and there's no way I was going to ask to be able to go. Well, I went back to class 2 days later, gym class, and Coach Medina said, would you like to go if I got you a scholarship? And I never knew I didn't know what a scholarship was. So I asked him, and I said, what's a scholarship? And he says, well, that means somebody else is going to pay for you. Well, unbeknownst to me, he actually called my parents the night before and asked them if he got me a scholarship, would I want to go?
Wow.
And I did. And I went to the camp, and it was a huge life-changing moment for me, and realizing that strangers, somebody out there, they care. And somebody cared enough about me to put up the money for me to go to basketball camp. He didn't even know who I was. And so it was years and years later that I was at Cintas. First year, it was 10 years later. So from 12 to 22. Understand, I lost my brother before I went into Cintas. My first year out of college, my first month out of college, I was the #1 rep out of 1,250 reps in the entire country. And I made, I think, $13,000 that month when at 22 years old. So I was really excited. I funneled, but there was obviously something missing. But a couple months later, I sent a greeting card to Coach Medici and said, I'm now in a position to be able to give back. And I want to sponsor a couple of kids to be able to go to camp. So I did that. I sponsored a couple of kids, and I remember I still have them. They're handwritten notes from the parents and the kids. And the parents, there was clearly tears on the page because it was smeared, and I still have it. And I just remember like thinking back to when I was 12 years old and somebody cared, and I wanted to do more. I was just inspired to be able to start. I don't want to say a movement because I feel like that's so ego to say I'm going to start a movement. A movement is decided because somebody else decides it's not a movement, not the person creating it. I created nowmovement.com for the reason of because it actually is going into a nonprofit. And the nonprofit is going to be high school students that are going to be getting paid to go into middle schools, drugs, sex, alcohol, and bullying. And because when I was at camp at 12 years old, I remember sitting on the side of the hill at 8 o'clock at night when the camp kind of ended, eating pizza, watching the counselors play against the high schoolers. And before the game started, somebody grab a mic, one of the juniors and seniors, and start talking about one of the topics. And it was a big deal for me because it wasn't a parent, wasn't a teacher, it wasn't a coach. It was seen to me like almost kind of a peer that you really look up to. And so I was inspired back then to be able to do more. And I'm very fortunate I've been able to do that. But then when I sent that greeting card, it felt so good. I ended up getting in the greeting card business for 6.5 years, got out of it for a couple of years, and then I actually started my own company. I wrote a book called Appreciation Marketing, How to Achieve Greatness Through Gratitude. In 2009, it was a national bestseller. And we took the principles and the strategies in that book, and then we launched our own greeting card company, because I feel in this day and age where people feel like, our mobile devices here, what we thought was going to connect us more, in a lot of cases has actually double-crossed us, especially when it comes to the people that we care most, because, you're always on the phone. And so the best gift that we can give is the gift of the present moment, and actually be here with your children, or be here with your spouse, or with that customer, when always we think we have to be someplace else. And so what inspired me to really do this was a few years ago when I was going through a divorce, and I went back through, it was several years ago now, and I was going back through it, and I was thinking like, I could never live now. I was always like, in the future, everything's going to be better, everything's going to happen. And I realized that, thinking back to my brother, like, why am I doing this? So I needed a reminder. I personally need a reminder. So I made one myself. And I bought one. I bought a watch on Amazon for like $50 that I liked, and I ripped it out. I ripped out the inside. I went to Staples. I printed the word "now" and I put it on the inside of the watch, and that's all it said was "now." And I made one for my brother by choice, Aladdin. So I gave it to him. So yeah. So this is so now. I actually. Does that look right, or do
yes, it does? Okay. Yes,
because it's reversed on mine.
Yeah.
So I made one a few years ago, and then my girlfriend for last year, now my wife, I'm so happy, so blessed, and we're expecting we're expecting a baby in December.
Yay! So for some of you who are watching, Curtis here is a newlywed. So congratulate him in the live chat. He is. How long has it been?
We got married a few months ago, and then so it was all kind of crazy. I proposed on Valentine's Day, and then this month she ended up being pregnant. We found out in April, so a couple months later, and so it's been very, very much a blessing. So we're having a baby boy in December, our first, and so very, very happy. So it's kind of crazy that start a new business. You just bought a house as well down here in Florida. I've lived here for about 1.5 years now, and now I feel like I know where I want to settle down and what area. So there's a lot of amazing things going on, and people always like laughing and joking around, saying, "Oh, I guess the time is now." I'm like, why wait?
Absolutely. And you know what, as you're telling that story, and I'm sure some of our folks right here agree, and I think Tina Kadish is saying me too. And when you were saying about like, back then you were just like what I was saying earlier, just looking forward, and we forget to live in the now. And talking about, I'm sure our folks right here know, because we live in this day and age where everything, I would say everything, almost everything, okay, is driven by technology, by social media. There's a lot of noise, right? And we're so, I think we're so geared or tuned in a way that, oh my God, I have to go, right? And then you're always looking forward, because society or how businesses are run are just pure technology, social media, and you feel that you have to play catch up, right? In fact, this year, and from some of my shows, my audience know I've been taking like 10 steps back, even though I know I'm called the 200 miles per hour entrepreneur. But what I've really been teaching is that step back, because like, for instance, here's an example of live videos. There's a lot of live streaming platforms, and people can just really throw up just talking about the platforms, and people just because work. So before we moved to Crowdcast, Curtis, I've been like streaming on blab.im for about almost a year, and Blab just hasn't been stable, and many of the Black community members are just moving away. But my point being is that we're all like trying to like figure things out, because we want to move in that forward direction, that we forget that there are times in our lives that we have to appreciate. And a great example would be those cards, right? Because we're always in a hurry and we never think that cards matter. But you know what, people, when I get cards, like for this week, I received a greeting card all the way from Malaysia, because I didn't expect it, because it's a holiday for us, you know. And I got a card, the only one card. I pinned it. If I could, I want to frame it, because that's the only one that I got. And I really, really appreciate it, because I think we forget at times, because we're moving too fast, we forget to live in the moment and appreciate every little, you know, memory that we get. And I'm glad that you were inspired to start your own greeting card company. So maybe walk us a little bit about that business and the book, because I would love to hear about the book. What did you write it yourself, or did you co-write it?
I co-authored it with Tommy Wyatt. Okay. That is Connecticut native up there.
Okay.
And my best friends have since. And it was interesting. He was my mentor, and when I was in college, and when I was a senior in high school, Zef, this is so funny, is that when I had to fill out a bio for baseball, they said all these different questions. You know, what's your favorite food? Lasagna. What's your this? Like, so they had to do this little bio write-up of all the athletes in the school, and then they put together this program. Well, they said, who would you like to most have lunch with? And I wrote down Tommy Wyatt. And so then it goes figure that just about years later after that, we become really good friends, then business partners. We co-authored the book together. And, you know, it really was a pretty powerful book, because all the stuff in it really is common sense stuff. It's just not common practice. Mm-hmm. And you realize that at the end of the day, it's not what you do, Zef, that's the most important. It's who you are.
Yes.
Because what you do can be found online someplace else. What you do can be found down the street many of the times. So what is the X factor in your own business? And it needs to be you, you know? So that is kind of the whole gist of it. And generate a lead by what you do, you earn a referral by who you are. Yep. So how are you showing up in people's lives, and are they smiling? See, there's two reasons why somebody's not going to come, the two main reasons why people are not going to come back to you to do business again or refer you business. Number one is they don't remember you. Number two is because of perceived indifference. You know what perceived indifference means? It's a fancy way of saying they don't think that you actually care.
Wow.
So when you're remembered and people show, and you show that you care, you're at the top of the list. People refer you. And it's not about the people that are in your network. It's how do you tap into tier 2, tier 3? And how do you generate a referral-based business? Because when I was at Cintas, I was working really hard. I was working 60 hours a week, cold calling probably 30 hours a week. It was a lot. You know, it's very draining. But after about a year, I went out to lunch with a guy by the name of Sean Hennigan. He was the #1 sales guy on the team. He made probably twice as much money as me, and he worked half the amount of hours. I was like, that's not fair. He's the kind of guy going to the country club on Wednesday afternoon. He's the kind of guy that was going to the beach on Friday afternoon, cutting out of work early. But nobody cared, because he was always just was way past his number. So I went out to lunch with him. I said, yeah, the company just gives you all the leads. They give you the referrals. That's not fair. You know, I'm working hard here. He's like, no, Curtis, you have to understand something. He goes, you have to take care of the people that have potential to take care of you. He goes, because you know Gary the driver? That's not Gary the driver. That's Gary, father of 3, that likes to go fishing on the weekends. Get to know him for who he is, not what he does. And I said, oh, so I started putting on the uniform, hopping on the trucks, carrying the rugs, changing out the toilet paper. By the way, that's what I sold, really sexy products like toilet paper, air fresheners, and soaps.
That's how I kind of remembered the Curtis from Cintas, because I have a photographic memory. That's why I said, I know I've met him somewhere. I just cannot position. But when I saw you Cintas, I'm like, I can almost put my money down that that's where I've met you, you know, in that relationship. Yeah, I do have weird photographic memory. So it's a good thing on my part.
And so when I was at that company, Cintas, one of the biggest door openers for me was writing greeting cards and sending them. And being able, I tell you, people come straight up to me and say, Curtis, you're a little bit higher in price, but I want to do business with you. And those little things that clicked with me at 23, 22 years old has carried with me for life. And And so it just inspired me to be able to do more. When I was in Australia, for instance, I went to Australia for 6 months. I did a book tour down there, and a couple things happened. Number one is a few well-placed cards got me anywhere I wanted to go. I met somebody who met somebody. Next thing you know, I'm on their version of Good Morning America called Sunrise.
Wow.
And they're doing an interview. It's like, and so that was amazing. But what also happened to me was I sat down with this lady who, I don't know what your beliefs are, but she's a clairvoyant woman. And I sat down with her and she was just like, blew me away. And she's like, Curtis, she goes, you go 110 miles an hour, don't you? She didn't say 200. She didn't say 200. So you got me beat. She goes, you go 110 miles an hour, don't you? You just go, 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 go. And I'm like, yeah, woo, that's me. And I'm proud of it. And she goes, you're never going to get there.
Yeah.
And she goes, you need to slow down, Curtis. She goes, you need to slow down in order to speed up.
Right.
Put your feet in the grass. Put your feet in the sand. He goes, take your socks, your shoes off. Just be. And I'm like, all right. And I didn't really understand what that meant. It took me years to realize back to that moment of how crucial that moment was. And it's just, he goes, you want to move faster, slow down in order to speed up. It was the first time that I heard that kind of phrase before, and it stuck with me. And so that's all part of the Now movement. All the businesses that I've created all kind of gel together because, as I said before, there's now and there's later, but later is not a promise. So when's the best time to say, thank you, appreciate you, I love you? It's now.
Exactly.
Why wait? And
that's awesome.
So that's one of the reasons why I chose the greeting cards is because text messages, emails, social media messages get deleted.
Yeah.
Greeting cards that come from the heart, that are sincere and genuine, it might take you a couple minutes to go ahead and create it. Ours is amcards.com. You can go create one. And actually, I'll give you guys all a card for free. If you want to check it, you can send one anywhere in the United States. I'll give you the card and the stamp, and you can set it up. Your first card is on me. But do it when you send the card to somebody. Think of somebody that comes to mind right now that maybe gave you your biggest break in business. Or maybe somebody that you need to say sorry to, that you haven't talked to in a long time. It opens up doors. And I just have so many testimonials from business and personal, but it crosses over. Yeah. Everybody, we're human beings. We have hearts. And when you show that you care, you go to the top of the list. I mean, I have doors open for me all the time. This past year has been, if I said all the different things that's happened to me, you'd be just shaking your head because it's just one thing after another after another.
About the timing too, and people often that's why I'm looking at what I just typed in the live chat, because just, repeating what you just said, which was slow down to speed up. And that's basically even with me, even though I name myself the 200 miles per hour, it's not really me. It's my audience that have named that. But when they start sitting down with me, having a session with me, and they go like, Zef, are you okay? Because suddenly I'm just this Jekyll and Hyde kind of gal, because I really slow down, because that's where I really help people go through some humps. But the point is, I'm just like, oh my God, it's so true in so much what you're saying. But before I forget, I'm just going to repeat what Curtis just mentioned here, folks. So two things. One, if you look on the screen, there's a green button. It says learn more at nowmovement.com. You want to learn more about the nowmovement.com, just click on that button and go and visit the website. And I'm going to drop in what Curtis just mentioned here today. And it says there, send a card for free today. All right. Actually, I'm just going to put www.amcards because it's way here.
AM cards. AM stands for appreciation marketing.
No,
so yeah,
absolutely. Go there. I mean, if you want a pause, you have a pause moment. Say this week you're thinking, I need to send somebody that card saying thank you because they did something great for me last week. Pause for 5 minutes, write that card, and send it out. You don't have to go to the store. It's just online, right, Curtis?
And then, by the way, we print it, stuff it, put a real first-class stamp, and mail it for you. And you can even upload your own pictures on it. And if you want to take your iPad, you can write the message out. You can sign your name. You can customize it. Even put your own logo, your own branding on the back of the card. So we wanted to make it completely customizable, all for a couple of bucks. It makes it really simple and easy. Of course, I focus on the business community. But it's really for everybody.
And I think you made a great point earlier is, as entrepreneurs, as the world gets really busy with people maybe doing this network marketing or any kind of business coaching videos, whatever. There's so many people doing the same thing. At the end of the day, when it comes to like who do I refer or who do I do business with, people are just going back to that relationship, right? And that's one of the reasons why I keep sharing with everybody why I've been doing a lot of live videos as of 2016, because we're all busy, and the next best thing for me and for many of the audience who watch our shows is they've realized the next best thing to being in with a person is through live videos. Because since I started back in March last year, I've met so many people from basically all corners of the world, like every continent. I've met somebody. Just like a couple weeks ago, I called a woman in South Africa, Cape Town, and I'm like, I would not have met this lady from Cape Town, South Africa, have I not live stream and made this my passion to meet people via live videos. So my point being is, there are times, we're so driven in just moving forward, we forget to live in the moment. Be awesome, for whatever reason. And I think we just need to, like you said, slow down to speed up, and that's an awesome thing. Build that relationships. Maybe you can talk a little bit about building relationships. And we talk about this a lot in every business these days. Don't just because, so I'm just going to mention this just because I heard it on TV and I thought it makes sense. Talking about building relationships with all the negative stuff that's happening in the world. I'm just going to make an example just because this is the example that I saw on TV just because it was news. So they were talking about how now even the police departments all over the USA have programs, have specific relationship building programs where they will just bring, gifts, stuff to communities, take the time out to just in their calendars, in their programs, they schedule blocks and chunks of programs that they will go into the community to get to know community members, because they know that is much more effective than just being out there on the streets, doing their job day to day, carry the guns, but basically taking the time to build relationships with the community people, the community and the people. Maybe you can address a little bit and share your experience when it comes to relationship building, how important it is, especially in business.
Well, relationships, as I mentioned in the bio, as well as how I wrap up all of my presentations, is the best investment that we can make in life is in relationships, because relationships are the real currency in life. Think about that for a second. Relationships really are the real currency in life. And I think that what a lot of people think about is a relationship between you and somebody else. And it seems a little bit strange sometimes to think about relationships that you have with your own self. And so what's the self-talk like with yourself? Do you really believe in you? And if you don't, then number one, you need to believe in yourself. And then number two, you need to surround yourself with people that believe in you. And I think that for years, I surrounded myself with some people that wanted to clip my wings and not help me fly. And that wasn't my personality. I know that I feel that God has given me gifts and that I need to utilize them, and I need to take them and run with them, and to be able to serve and help other people. And so, I feel so alive when I'm aligned with the businesses that I have, with the people I surround myself with, and it's all a choice. We get to choose. Yep. And so the relationship part of things, there's so many things that we can do. And I think it's kind of a ripple effect. Start with you, and you improve that, and improve the people that are closest to your life, your spouse. Yeah, I love the book, The 5 Love Languages, because people receive and give love in different ways. And so understanding that with people that are in your life, your kids, and it's a ripple effect. It goes to your neighbors, and then so on. So, T. Harv Eker, and I was at his seminars a while ago, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. He says, how you do anything, or how you do something is how you do everything, or something of that nature, right? So how are you showing up? And I have so many different testimonials. Like even just yesterday, something happened to me. I was with my wife, Licia, and we were driving, and we're on our way to dinner. I'm sorry, it was Friday night. So we're on our way into dinner. I got invited out to a lady that I wanted to meet. So check this out. She's the #1 realtor in all of Orlando. She does over $100 million in sales a year, her and her team. And I wanted to meet her. And I knew I was going to eventually. I sent her a card or two. And then I happened to go to an event. I met her. I gifted her a book. I signed it for her. But when you gift something, sometimes it doesn't have as much value. So she didn't read it. But I did follow up with a card with brownies. And then on Mother's Day, because she was talking in it, because I was sitting and she was presenting, talking about marketing, and I attended her class. Okay. And I'm always I'm always to learn and get better. Yeah. So I was taking a lot of notes, and you could just see how much of a pleasure it was for her to be a mom. And so when she was talking about her children, she just glowed. And I recognized it right away. And on Mother's Day, I sent her a Facebook private message video. And I just said, Jenny, I attended your workshop class, and I just remember how much you glowed when you talked about your children. There could be no better gift than being a mom. I understand for you, and I just wanted to say Happy Mother's Day and wish you the best. She flipped out. Like she's like, thank you so much, but I didn't realize how much of an impact that had on her life. And she invited me out. So she's been following me on social media, and she knows some of the people that I'm surrounding myself with. So she sent me a message the other day, and she says, hey, Curtis, I had a month-long competition with my whole team, and it was the winner got a chance to go out to dinner, to a fancy dinner, and they pick, and they get to go with a person of influence. And I'm like, awesome. The lady that I wanted to meet for a full year, inviting me out to dinner as the person of influence for the person in her team. I was so honored. And we go out, and it was just such an incredible experience. But the thing is, like, I wanted to build a relationship. What kind of value could I add to her? Because see, most people are looking at what can I get instead of what can I give. And so now I'm going to be doing a personal training for free. I'm going to do a training for a whole team, an appreciation marketing training. And it was just so cool. And then of course she wanted me to bring one of these now reminders for the winner. And so I brought one and a signed copy of the book, and it was just one of those things. But on my way into dinner, that's one thing of a relationship being built. Here's another one. I was in Australia in 2012. I walk into a BNI because I wanted to meet people. I met 248 people one-on-one in coffee shops in 90 days. And I didn't know one person before I went to Australia. So how did I do it? Well, I learned the principles of my book, Appreciation Marketing, I put out there. See, most people, they wake up looking like they're constipated. They leave the house. They leave their house looking like they're constipated, and they stay that way all day long. I'm not the type of person that wants to give that person business, and I know there's a lot of other people either. So when I was in Australia, I show up at a BNI. Now, I didn't understand kilometers and miles, and I was like, I get on my bike. I bought a bike online. Their version of Craigslist is called Gumtree. Okay. So I hop on Gumtree, and I bought they call it a push bike. So I get on a push bike, and I had my helmet on, driving. It was really hot. I didn't understand Celsius either when I got there, so I didn't know how hot it was. So I go, and I ended up going. It was like 9 miles away bike ride. But something told me I had to go to this BNI. I don't know why. I get out, and I almost turned around and went back because I was all sweaty. I had a book bag on my back with my laptop and everything, so my back was nothing but sweat. And so literally I'm in the bathroom of this. It was like a casino that they had this BNI upstairs. So I go in the bottom, and I turn on the hot fan and try to dry my back, and I'm squatting underneath the fan, like trying to get this out. Anyways, I said, heck with it. I'm like messing up my hair. And so I walk into BNI, and I meet this one lady, and she's just glowed. She just had this energy about her that just glowed. And I'm like, I went up to her, and I introduced myself. We hit it off. She's now to this day one of my best friends. But here I stayed in touch with her. 2 years later, another company I was doing consulting with in sales for invited me to come to Australia to help open up the whole country. And I wanted to extend my stay. She offered me to stay in her in-law suite, which was like an extra bathroom, an extra kitchen, and everything. I stayed there for a whole month.
That's awesome.
And then I was going into dinner the other night. My friend Michael, who I was good friends with, says, Curtis, my daughter is in Australia right now and she has stomach problems. She has to go to the hospital. Is there anything we can do? I need to get her these supplements from Amazon, and Amazon won't ship to Australia. So I said, no problem. I said, let me see what I can do.
Right.
I know my friend Annette just moved from Melbourne to Brisbane. So I sent her a Facebook private message, said, Annette, I need some help. I have good friends of mine. His daughter is on the other side of the world, right in your city. And can I connect the two of you? I connected two of them. She said, no problem. Went to the health food store, picked up the stuff, went over to the hospital or the hotel, make sure she got their supplements. And it was just like one of those things that made me feel so good that in a moment's notice, with a relationship that I've built over years and years, and she knows that I would do the exact same, in a minute. And so like, yeah. What do you, there's that quote that says that everybody knows it, and I'll let you finish it. People don't care how much you know,
but people until how much you care.
Yes, until they know how much you care. Exactly. So think about that as almost like going into every situation. People don't care how much you know. So talking about yourself and pat back how good you are, make it be about them. So when you're interviewing people, that's why you're so successful with what you do, because you bring people on, you want it to be about them, and people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So all the situations that I'm in, that I'm flip side, I talk maybe 20% of the time, 25, if that.
That's
and it's so important, because when you can build that relationship and you're sitting here on your phone, oh yeah, sure, Zef, I know exactly. Yeah, I know what you're saying. There's actually a chapter in our book called Tinkerbell, and that's one of them.
Oh, really? What's the chapter about Tinkerbell?
The chapter is called 7 Deadly Creatures to Avoid Becoming.
Tinkerbell.
All right. This is one of the biggest parts. I'll talk about quickly about a couple of chapters. One, I'll talk about a couple of the creatures real quick. One is called the sucker.
The sucker.
And the sucker, okay, so there's an old poker aphorism that says that if you're sitting at a poker table and you can't spot the sucker within 5 minutes, it's you. But it's not that kind of sucker. About the energy sucker, the person that just the sight of their name on your phone,
yes,
will drain your energy.
Yes,
so when you look at the phone, you're like, nope, ignore.
Yes,
put that down.
God. So, oh my God, that's so true.
But here's the question. Here's the biggest question. When somebody else's phone rings and it's your name on their phone, so it's easy to laugh the other way around, because we all have suckers in our life. But the question is, are you?
Are you one, right?
Are you one of them? So when you're calling somebody else, are they scrambling to pick up that phone because you're an energy giver, or are you an energy sucker? So in business, such a big deal. Like, what can you do to add value? What can you do that when people remember you, they remember you with a smile?
Yes.
And so I'm always thinking about that. We have a lot of different characters. We have Mr. Halitosis and Gingivitis. What's your appearance? How are you showing up? Obviously, people judge, and so showing up is just a way of
the book, right? Is it on Amazon?
It's on iTunes, it's on Audible, it's on Amazon. If you like to listen to it, just download it, listen to it. It's a quick listen, and you'll I know that you'll get some valuable nuggets out of it for sure. Also, what chapter 5 of our book is called Chocolate Frosted Dog Crap.
How did you?
So Zef, let me explain this to you. So if it's your birthday right now and you think I have a piece of chocolate cake over here, and you're like, oh, that's so nice of Curtis, piece of chocolate cake with frosting on it, until it comes up in front of you and I put it right in front of you, how long until you realize that that's not chocolate cake?
That's a good question.
Instantly. It's crap. It's insincere. It's disingenuous. It goes in the garbage. Here's why. It's the same thing as if I was to, let's say, send you a greeting card. And I say, happy birthday. Hope everything's going great with your business and your family. At the bottom, I say, P.S. The greatest compliment in the world is a warm referral. Oh, by the way, Zef, I'm never too busy for your referrals. Now, this is the type of part when I do presentations for real estate companies, because I present to real estate companies around the country, people they tense up. They're like, oh my gosh, I was taught to do that. We believe that you don't just ask for the referral, deserve it. Don't expect the referral, deserve it. Do the things necessary to be able to earn the referral. There's a time and a place to ask for the business. But when you take appreciation and gratitude and you mix it,
Yes.
it comes across as being insincere and disingenuine. Like if you got a holiday card and business cards fall out of it, like I like to grab these and hand them out at my Christmas party. No, come on, let's be serious. You know, we're all consumers, we all receive. So how does it feel when you put yourself in the receiver's shoes? How are you receiving? So that's way, how do you want to give?
That's just like, for me right now, I just had a visual, like something just flashed across my eyes and my face. I'm like, that is so true, because I've seen so many people avoid phone calls, or they have cards that say exactly what you just said, or they have business cards dropping out from them. And I'm like, okay, this is, and most of the time those cards will go into the trash, you know, and people forget about that. But I think about when you talk about relationships, it's all about the gesture, it's all about the timing. And usually if it's very heartfelt, it's very sincere, it's very honest, it will come through naturally, instead of feeling like it's being pushed, or like you're pushing down somebody's throat, maybe something, you know. It's not natural, it doesn't feel natural. So I think a lot of times that's where I'm such an avid networker, and I will have times when I meet people that I see them like across the room and I just want to run the other direction. Have you had one of those moments, like the
oh my God, all over the place?
Just want to run the other direction. So I so agree, and I can really relate with what you just said, that the sucker, you know, the people.
We have the puker too, the person that just wants to throw up all over you, and it's all about them. It smells, it's disgusting. I was the puker. The reason why we wrote about these, by the way, because I was every single one of them. And so that's, and I learned from my mistakes.
So you've achieved growth, and which is good. That's why you get to share that. I think that's how real it comes out in, you know, in your book. And I think that's where many of us need sometime other people to tell us the way we're doing it wrong, you know, and we just have to learn it. I know we're about 10 minutes away, but I just want to say, anybody who wants to come in, who just wants to ask questions, come on and just let me know. I'll bring you in. But I have two questions here where I want to ask you, because I can actually put this in a timeline, and whoever comes back to watch this can get to see that replay at a specific time. Question first. The first question, which is your favorite book. So I'm going to start answering this question, which asking you this question, which is, what is your favorite book and best lesson learned from it?
Oh my gosh, I got so many different books.
You have so many. Pick one that comes to mind right now when it comes.
Okay. There's a lot of books, and you know, obviously I love the Rich Dad Poor Dad, the Think and Grow Rich, but one of the ones that was pivotal for me to make a you can pivot and persevere. I pivoted, and businesses crumbling, personal lives crumbling, and I wanted to hang on to something. Well, I read a book called The Millionaire Fast Lane.
Who is it?
And by MJ DeMarco. And in the book, he talks about success, wealth. It's a process, not an event. You know, people look at the event saying they sold the company and made millions. What they don't see is the late nights they were coding, the late nights they were doing this, the plane rides all over the place, the relationships you have to have to build. They're all the failed businesses leading up to the one that worked, and learning from the lessons that they learned in the past. So like, it's a process, not an event. And what you need to do is learn how to enjoy the journey. The journey is the prize, folks. The journey is the prize. So if you can learn to slow down, live in the now. That's why I have my reminder on my wrist every single day. It's because literally I wear it every single day, is because, and the reason, and you know, I built this thing so I can reinvest back into businesses and reinvest back into my nonprofit, because I want to support my nonprofit full board. Now, the nonprofit is not on the website. That's going to come a little bit later. I haven't even talked about that ever in a live event until now, but that is where the direction is going, that we're going.
That's awesome. And I think just to add a little bit about, you're talking about the book. What was it? Now I have a brain fart. Talking
The Millionaire Fast Lane.
What were you talking about? The Millionaire Fast Lane. You said process, right? Instead of just the destination.
Not the event, yeah.
So basically, one of the things that people often ask, or the statements that people make when they see you up and above, rising, and you're successful, they often say this, and I really don't like the way they say it. It goes, "Oh, you're lucky. That's got nothing to do with lucky," And I'm like,
I'll take luck all day long. Give it to me.
I know. I mean, if it's free, I'll take it every day, every moment, every second. But people do not see the process.
I have something to say about that, though, for sure. Luck favors those in motion.
There you go.
Think about that for a second. Luck favors those in motion. The universe favors those in motion. Put yourself in motion and take the necessary action. So that goes back to have the right attitude, take the right action necessary to be able to accomplish your goals. But you have to attach it to something that's bigger than you. If you don't attach something that's bigger than you, then you're not going to make the extra phone call. You're not going to go and make it. You just won't do it because you'll sit in this little comfort zone and you're okay and make excuses why it's not happening.
Wow, right? So that's exactly what it is. It's in the process. It's in the journey. It's not an event. It's not a destination. So that's a great answer. So I'm going to click on that. And the next question I have for you right here is to business entrepreneurs to show up for their tribe or community, for people who matter to them.
Okay, I lead by example. I think it's a big thing that don't ask your tribe to do anything that you're not willing to do yourself. Get in the ditches. Do what you need to do, because I think that is extremely powerful. And don't be afraid to fail. And share it. Like, I always wanted to hide everything, thinking it was a weakness. But it's.
That is exactly what I think many of us forget in our hurry scurry of life. We just want to go into that direction of which is forward. We forget to lead by example, because we forget that people, especially our tribe, our community, the people that we're leading, are paying very close attention to every move, every step that we take. And sometimes in our, people can also pick if you're a fake or not. They can tell if you're a fake or not, because you're saying one thing and you're doing the other. So I'm glad you brought that up. It's lead by example, because yes, people are watching and people are following you, and people are unfortunately thinking, is this person or is this leader watching or listening to? So that is and that is huge. Well, can you imagine when we have great conversations? It's always like, where did the time go? People, hello. So for some of you, whether it's live or on replay, two things we're doing today. So if you look at your screen, that button that says learn more about now, learn more at nowmovement.com. You can learn everything that you need to know about the nowmovement.com. Where Curtis talked about the watch, and I think he's having a sale there right now.
I actually just put it on this morning. I had my website guy put it on this morning, so I just cut that off. So I just dropped the price big time on them just for your viewers.
So make sure you all check that out, because for some of you who also are like me, we need to slow down to speed up. Watch will probably help you all to do that. It's a very cool watch. And the second part, for some of you who thank you to you, Curtis, for offering to send that free card to our viewers. Y'all can go to www.amcards.com, and I'm going to put in that link again. So you can just go there and, amcards.com and send a card, and talk about that a little bit while I type this in, Curtis.
Yeah, AM cards. So what you're able to do is you'll be able to create a greeting card online, click send, and my company here in Orlando will print the card, put it in an envelope, put a real stamp on it, and mail it out the next business day for you. Very nice card stock with a real personal stamp. You can even sign it on an iPad or sign it on your phone if you want to take a stylus or your finger, so you can have that personal touch. And we don't get much personal mail these days. It's junk mail, and when you get something personal, it gets saved and it gets remembered. And one of our slogans is be remembered, not deleted.
That's awesome. And that's why I said earlier, when I got that one and only card, yes, I treasured it. Like, oh my God, don't touch it, frame it. The only one that I've had for the holidays this year. So I was like, okay, don't touch it. That's mine. I got super excited, because I think in the hurry scurry of the lives that we lead these days, right, we don't get a chance, the opportunity to have something feasible in our hands and experience that TLC, that people took the time to put a stamp right on the envelope, put it and mail it out to the post office. Do you know how much effort it takes to do that, right? So you kind of appreciate more versus somebody sending you an email card or, a card or a text just like you said, text and email, everything goes away. But that card is still.
Yeah, people have great intentions. People have great intentions to do it. And, you know, when you make something personal with their own picture, you take a Facebook picture off that means a lot to them and you put it on a card, that stuff doesn't get thrown away.
Absolutely. So I know, you know, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule. And again, congratulations, you know, on your wedding. Oh my God, things are just happening and just taking off for you, which is
really are. I'm very blessed.
Thank you for being here. We're blessed to have you share your story today, because I'm sure, you know, some of us probably, for some of you guys who probably like, oh my God, this is almost like the middle of the week and you need some inspiration. Well, you got a dose of that today, guys. All right. So be sure, if you are here, make sure you click on, you know, the profiles right here, and Curtis's profile is right here. So if you click on his profile, it will bring you to where you can follow him. And those two websites now, movement.com and am.com, those are the two places that people get in touch with you. The best place. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. You guys, thank you so much for watching Zef Zan TV Interviews. We are here 7 p.m. Tuesdays. Week is Ask Zef, and that also starts at 7 p.m. All the Tuesday shows are 7 p.m. If you don't know where I would be streaming live next, all you need to remember is zefzan.live, and that's the website that you can go and watch all my live shows that are coming up every week on zefzan.live. Well, I want to say thank you to all of you for watching. Thank you, Curtis, for being here today.
Thank you.
Sharing his wisdom, right? And I hope to see y'all in the next episode of Zef Zan TV. Thank you, everybody.
Much. Thank you.
Yay!